Jake, you had a story go up yesterday about Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar Henderson, as we mentioned earlier in our All-Star conversation, has been one of the best players in baseball this year. He, of course, the defending Rookie of the Year, has now immediately transitioned to the MVP conversation. And for those of us familiarizing ourselves with Gunnar Henderson this season in a more meaningful way, and maybe this happened last year when it was like, wow, this guy, second rounder, 42nd overall. He's one of the best players in baseball. He was last year. And now he finished 8th in MVP last year. This is a guy that was already sort of getting some down ballot votes last year. Now he is on pace for a truly ridiculous season. Last year, he was a 6.2 Baseball Reference WAR player. He is already at 4.3 this year in 61 games. So he is heading for one of the better seasons we've seen from a shortstop this century. And you kind of wrote about what went into his draft status, why he ended up going 42nd overall. I enjoyed the story, of course, as a draft dork. But what were your biggest takeaways kind of reporting the story out?
For me, it was just kind of understanding the mechanisms and the dynamics at play when a player like Henderson falls to 42nd overall, the first pick of the second round of the draft in 2019. Because there are many players who are drafted later in the draft who end up having incredibly successful MLB careers. But what is unique about Henderson is how quickly he got this good. And usually when players get this good this quickly, they are taken at the top of the draft because their skill set at 17 and 23, like, yes, there's a ton of physical and baseball development that happens, but the gap is smaller, right? And so I went back and looked at players age 23 or younger who have put up 7.5 win seasons and looking at when they were drafted. And it's the list you would expect, right? It's Cody Bellinger, it's Mookie Betts, it's Bryce Harper, it's Manny Machado, it's Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, Alex Rodriguez, Ken Griffey. And what stands out about Henderson is that he was a second round pick. Bellinger, I believe, was a 4th round pick. Betts, I believe, was also Betts was a 5th round pick. But it's just an interesting dynamic. How did this happen this quickly where literally every team, except the Red Sox, who did not pick before Gunnar was taken, the Red Sox are off the hook. How did every team pass on this guy? Right? What allowed that to happen? And the sense that I got in reporting the story out is Gunnar was a very talented, though very raw high school player, and teams are wary of drafting high school players. There were problems with the profile, and by that I mean a high school hitter, and there were problems with Gunnar as a player. And those problems were teams doubted whether he was going to stick at shortstop, and if he had to move down the defensive spectrum, would he have the bat to ball skills necessary to make the most of his power? And so because of those concerns, he fell a little bit further than you would expect a player who might win the MVP to fall.